story about when I first came out here. If any of you guys have ever stayed in Waikiki or been in there, you know that you will see lots of prostitutes walking around waiting for their next customer. And one time that customer happened to be my father. And I was sitting waiting for him to approach me for dinner, and some tall blonde decided to walk up to him and approach him and I guess ask him to go to a party or something. And so him knowing that I was sitting right there decided to like stay and chat for a while, figuring it would be kind of funny. And after like 10 minutes went by, he was like, "How would you feel if you knew that my daughter was standing right there laughing at you the entire time?" And she got all embarrassed and she ran off and like hurried away, and my dad laughed at her. And it wasn't until doing the research for this presentation that I kind of found something wrong with that. And the social norm nowadays is to kind of like look down on prostitution and kind of laugh at them and I don't know, like make them feel like they're worthless. And this view of them really needs to be changed immediately, and this can happen through the legalization of prostitution. By legalizing prostitution, we'll be able to regulate abuse by the pimps and the police officers on prostitutes. We'll be able to inform the sex workers of like health risks, and then kind of give them skills in order to get them out of sex work and out of their current profession. So today we will look at what prostitution is, the abuse that sex workers experience, and why legalizing prostitution and changing social stigma around prostitution may not stop it from happening, but will help current workers get out. So first let's discuss the oldest profession and why it is inevitable. Legalizing prostitution has not stopped it from happening and has only allowed society to turn its back on the actual problem. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, you can see it right here, there's 57,626 people arrested for prostitution in the year 2008. Of those 58,000, 18,000 were male and 40.8 thousand were female. So after being pushed in and out of jail, prostitutes return to the streets and continue to do the very thing that they were arrested to do. The jail process does not help or change or alter their behavior, and this proves that prostitution will continue to happen whether legal or not. Rather than use this money to put them in jail, we should use this money to keep them off the street. Prostitution is not as pretty as Hollywood portrays it and is often a person's last option. In Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts plays a prostitute who ends up walking down the street, being swept off her feet and treated with the utmost respect. This isn't reality. This portrayal has allowed society to turn its back on the problem and pretend that nothing's wrong and everything's okay. Prostitutes are often forced and have no other option. They are pushed into the line of work at a young age, and they have no options on work, as well as who their clients are and what they're required to do. So now let's discuss the abuse that prostitutes encounter and in their life, in their early stages of life, as well as during their job. Rather than turning our back to the already used and abused, we should look to help prostitutes and get them out of their current situation. Prostitutes are abused nearly their entire life, both as children and as workers. Many prostitutes are sexually abused at a young age, and most report that by the age of 20 they were forced to give a sexual favor. Prostitutes then enter a line of work which allows pimps and police to abuse them as well. When raped or beaten on the job, they have nowhere to turn. An article titled "Why is Prostitution Illegal?" written by Emily Bazelon on March 10, 2008, on a study in Chicago, she states, "The risk of the trade is serious. An annual average of 12 incidents of violence and 300 incidences of unprotected sex happen to each prostitute annually. There is also a surprisingly high prevalence of police officers demanding sex from prostitutes in return for avoiding arrest." No woman dreams of becoming a prostitute, and we can all agree that prostitution is not something we wish to see. But how is abandoning those in need okay? When the government banned the sale and use of alcohol in the 1920s, people were outraged. The U.S. ended up spending thousands of dollars trying to prevent black market sales. Like prohibition, the U.S. has spent thousands trying to stop the unstoppable. Prostitution, whether we like it or not, is inevitable, and it's going to happen. Illegalizing it has only allowed society to turn its back on the problem. Taking away a bottle from an alcoholic will cause him to search for alcohol elsewhere. Just like taking away the sale of sex has forced it underground into unsanitary, unregulated, and unsafe conditions. Finally, let's discuss how legalizing prostitution can help support prostitutes and give them more options. Rather than turning our back to the truth, let's begin to help make a better life for those involved in the sex trade. With legalization comes the ability to regulate prostitution, improve health safety, and educate women of their options. When prostitution is legal, government officials will be able to require annual health checkups, STD checks, and require contraceptive use. This will give prostitutes access to health care as well as safety. We can also educate women and give them skills to remove them from the sex trade. Critics of the fight for the legalization of prostitution say that after it is legal, more reports are released of abuse and rape, and conditions have only been made worse. Legalizing prostitution allows those who are abused or raped to report to the authorities. Rather than criticize that the numbers have only been raised, we should be aware that this is because prostitutes feel more safe reporting them. In an article written by Martha Nussbaum in March of 2008, titled "Should Prostitution Be Legalized?" found on CQ Researcher, Martha states, "But criminalization is worse. Sweden's 1998 criminalization of commercial sex appears not to have protected prostitutes at all. Prices for sexual services were dropped, clients were fewer but more violent, more wanted to pay for sex and not use a condom, and sex workers had less time to assess the mental state of their clients because of the fear of getting caught." In conclusion, let us review the points made in this presentation. We have discussed the innate nature of prostitution, the abuse surrounding sex workers, and the changes needed in society in order to improve the conditions of sex work and the lives of those involved in it. If you were stuck in a position where there was no help, wouldn't you want someone to come reach out a hand and help you? In a paper titled "Legalized Prostitution," Mark Liberator says, "If modern society rests itself on principles claiming to assist those who cannot help themselves and create structures where opportunities, not dead ends, are the norm, then prostitutes do not deserve the abandonment from which they have been suffering."